What's your story? Or what's your narrative in which you tell yourself and you tell the world around you? Or how do you view the world? How is the world in your story? And how can you make your view of the world better in your story? Because it's necessary and it's very crucial for your existence. Imagine everything you interact with adds something onto your narrative or adds a little bit of something into your perspective. And everything in which you are going to do afterwards is going to be determined by your perspective. In every way, you cannot escape telling a better story, either to yourself or to the world around you. You cannot escape, and it's always inevitable that along the line someone will want to listen to your story. So what are you going to tell them? Or how are you going to structure your story in a way that is going to work both for you and for the world? And when it comes to structuring your story, I don't mean trying to come up with something which isn't the reality in which you live in. It's not about the fiction you can come up with, or the fiction you can write, or the fiction you can think of and try to adapt it to your reality. I'm not into that. It's not how the world around you works with, or it's not something in which you can work with in the long term. In the short term, it can work for you and it can work very well. But in the long term, you cannot depend on it entirely. So what's your story? And what's your role in your story? Are you the person in whom you look at the world and you let it define your story for you? Or are you the person who writes their own story and later reveal it to the world? What kind of a story do you really want to tell the world? Or what kind of a story do you really want the world to reveal about you? There are so many ways in which a story of any human being can be told, or in which a story of any human being can be revealed both to the world and to the person themselves. The two main ways in which stands out across all cultures and across all generations is the story in which you let yourself tell the world, and the story in which you let the world tell yourself. There are so many ways in which you can write or you can tell your story. But the two which are very core and are very common There's the victim's story and there is the victor's story. And at a point, we don't have a choice in which to choose between the two. Or it's needful to say, certain times call for us to be victors and certain times call for us to be victims. And there are those individuals who choose to be victors all times. And there are those individuals who choose to be victims all times. And it all depends on which works for each individual. But for the majority, for those individuals who really know their human worth, they always tell their story. They always choose the victor's tale, and that is they choose to tell, to see themselves as winners or as victors in the struggle of life and in shaping the existence of life itself. With that, how are you going to structure yourself so you can tell a story? Because as you already know, the story in which you tell or the story in which you come up with mirrors who you are and what the world is to you. You cannot have a conflicting story in your head and expect the world to be a harmonious place. The world can't exist in harmony with you unless you exist with it in harmony. And that narrows down to the relationship in which you put, or to the relationship in which you choose to put yourself with. Is the world a place of chaos to you? Or is the world a place of bliss to you? And how can you move from the chaos to the bliss? Or how can you make yourself more blissful? The first thing, you have to realize that either way, there is no escape from the chaos and there is no escape from the bliss. Moments of bliss will come and moments of chaos will come, and they are all going to challenge you into putting them in your narrative. For the victims, they don't lack bliss and they don't always have plenty of chaos at their disposal. They have both. Same to the victors. But what differentiates them is how they take the odds thrown at them. The victor looks at the odds in a way that enhances their story, and the victim looks at the odds or at the chaos in a way that does more harm to their story than what already is. And come to think of it, there is no price on both of them, or there is a price to pay for both. So whenever you want to come up with your story, or whenever you want to tell your story, just look at which side enhances the quality of your existence and take it from there. For now, let's meet in the next episode. And for now, adios. See you when you see me.